There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers. A dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends. A place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view. But when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. This is your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me, as always, my co-host and producer, Tim Dennis. This evening, we have a great show for you coming up. We've got a fantastic guest I'm very excited to have on with us. Chris Fleming, that you know from the Biography channel, has a special show on there all about the paranormal called Dead Famous, Ghostly Encounters. We'll be talking to Chris in a few minutes. Before we get into that, though, we do have a couple of announcements to make. For those of you that keep emailing me and have questions regarding the ghost trip that I mentioned earlier this year, or actually a couple weeks ago, we are working on putting together a trip where we can go ghost hunting with two of the actual members of the TAPS team from the TV show on Sci-Fi Channel, Ghost Hunters. So if you have an interest, I need you to email me at dave@darknessradio and just contact me. Let me know if you'd have an interest in attending the ghost trip. We're going to try to put together about 15 to 25 listeners that we're going to go out, and we're going to be going out to the East Coast to do this. It'll be somewhere around the Warwick, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, somewhere in that area, so it's close for the members of TAPS to be able to attend. We'll also have dinner with at least two of the members, so it's a great opportunity. If you have an interest, please tell your friends about it. Let us know. Get back to us. As soon as I see that we've got enough interest, then I'll definitely start posting more information and try to tie the people down that want to be a part of this. So I need you to write me at dave@darknessradio. Now, we do have a new setup here as well. For those of you that have been tuning in on the internet, I know that we've been having some troubles with the servers over the last few weeks. I believe we've got everything up and running now smoothly, so thank you for sticking with us and bearing with us for this program. I think it's going to be a great one. You should really enjoy it. We do have on the phone with us Vanessa, and Vanessa is with RIP Ohio. Vanessa, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you for joining us this evening. Vanessa, you're going to come on and tell us a little bit about something that's special is going to be going on this August. And if you could just give us the highlights. It's coming up, if you want to get a pen and paper, I've got a couple announcements for everybody tonight. But this one will be the first one. It's Friday, August 11th, 2006, beginning at 8:30 p.m. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Yes, and that's at Beaver Creek State Park in East Liverpool, Ohio. It's a known haunted location in the area. It's a time for researchers and other paranormal enthusiasts to come together for a unique opportunity to spend time inside an old pioneer village and try to catch EVPs or some pictures. And it's on a historic canal called the Sandy and Beaver Canal. And like I said, the area is well known for hauntings. It's got at least a half a dozen written up on it.
Great. Now, what is this? What are you putting this program together for?
It's a fundraiser for our group, and also we are going to give some of the proceeds to the park for the upkeep of the Pioneer Village itself.
All right, fantastic. And for people that are interested in getting more information, where can they go look?
They can come to our website, which is www.rip-ohio.org. And if they want just information on the park itself, they can go to beavercreekstatepark.com.
Okay. Now,
and that'll show you some of the old pioneer buildings and stuff that we'll be allowed to spend the time inside. Normally, they're not open to the public at all.
Oh, great. So they're opening up special for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. So now it's also a camp out.
Yes.
Okay.
It's $15 for the tour. It'll be $20 if you want to camp out with us for the night. And then we'll be taking a nighttime hike. I don't know. I can't say exactly what time because we don't know what time we'll close up the tours. But we're going to hike down to Gretchen's Lock, which is one of the main areas known for the hauntings.
Great. Well, maybe we can even swing out a deal. Maybe Tim or I will come out and join you guys for one of the nights.
That'd be great.
And check it out. And we'll bring this back up and mention it. We'll post a link on our website at darknessradio.com. So if you have any information about this program and you'd like to be a part of it and get to go out and do a little ghost hunting in a well-known haunted area and actually have a great time meeting other people involved in the paranormal,
absolutely.
You can get together. And again, you can reach Vanessa by going right to their website at RIP, that's Robert Indigo Paul Ohio.org for more details. The cost to enter the village is only $15. The village, boy, that sounds very M. Night Shyamalan here. Huh? So the cost to enter the village is only $15, and then it's just an extra $5 to camp out with RIP Ohio.
We'll also have free hot dogs and stuff like that.
Oh, free hot dogs. Now Tim's definitely coming.
I'm there.
Now, you're also going to have an angel reader there, is that correct?
Yes, we have Laura, our angel reader. Her website is angelreader.net if you'd like more information on that.
Okay, angelreader.net, or you can go to rip-ohio.org for more information.
And
Vanessa?
we also have a MySpace page, which is RIP Ohio.
All right, great. RIP Ohio at MySpace, correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, Vanessa, we appreciate you joining us tonight. We'll have you back on a little bit closer to the program to remind people, but I wanted to give this out so people know about it well in advance.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Again, that's Friday, August 11th, 2006, beginning at 8:30 p.m., correct?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too.
Now, I also want to remind you that coming up in May, on May 12th and May 13th, the Utah Ghost Hunter Society has a paranormal convention coming up. So that's right around the bend here. It's the Peary Hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah. Our good friend April is part of this. They're going to have Dr. Alan Meyer talking about techniques of ghost photography. Brian Whitesides will be there doing ghost hunting philosophy. April Page Greenwald and James Boley will be talking about the haunting of the Lehigh Hospital. Alien Dave will be there. And he'll be talking about Utah, the new Area 51. And then Rich Oliver, Matt Groen, and Laura Reese. Groen will be talking about Utah's Skinwalker Ranch. And we're going to have Rich and Matt on the show in a couple weeks here to talk about their adventures and the crazy stuff that's gone on for them. For more information about that, you can visit their website at ghostwave.com. That's ghostwave.com. And again, that's the Utah Ghost Hunter Society program coming up on May 12th and 13th. Again, if you have any interest in doing the ghost hunting tour, as I mentioned earlier, we are also putting together an alien tour where we're going to go out. A few weeks ago, we had James Gilliland on the show from Washington, and he was talking to us about his purported UFO sightings that go on there all the time. He says if it's a clear night, we have a 90% chance of seeing UFOs. So we're going to head out there one weekend this summer and maybe do a nice little 3-day weekend, do a camp out there, hang out and get to see some UFOs. If you have an interest in seeing the UFO tour, please also contact us, and you can write to me at dave@darknessradio.com. We also have our guest coming up right now. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Chris Fleming is one of the stars and hosts of the TV show on the Biography Channel. The TV show is known as Dead Famous, Ghostly Encounters, and a fantastic show. For those of you who have not seen it, make sure that you check it out. And they go around to different haunted locations or different locations that were attached to very famous people. I know coming up this April, on April 4th, as a matter of fact, they're going to be doing Bing Crosby, Rita Hayworth on April 11th, Nat King Cole on April 18th, and Andy Warhol on April 25th. They've done other past episodes with people like Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra, and Chris is joined by Gail Porter, who is his sidekick and companion on the show. Chris, thanks for joining us this evening.
Dave, Tim, thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, we appreciate it. Now, your show's been on the air. We're starting off the third season. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the first episode of the third season is coming up. Is that on April 4th?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the first episode will be Bing Crosby. Now, how did you get involved in doing this? Now, you're not only a paranormal investigator, but you're also an intuitive, correct?
Right. I like to use the term, everybody has a term for something, and it's pretty interesting. When I first got into the show, they're like, well, what do you call yourself? I said, Chris. It's like, I don't know. I can sense when ghosts are around, I've always had this ability. So I started doing my research, and I didn't like psychic. I didn't like medium, even though I felt I had some of the abilities that they have. I didn't want to be categorized as that. And I said, well, the biggest thing was my emotions and that I'm very sensitive to my surroundings. So I decided I'm a sensitive. That's what I am. And as I went aboard working with some parapsychologists, it pretty much is the best way I would say to identify me.
Fantastic. Now, you've done 2 seasons. Who else have you seen? You've dealt with Frank Sinatra. You've dealt with Elvis.
We did Alfred Hitchcock, Houdini, John Wayne, Bonnie and Clyde. That was a lot of fun. We also did, since we did Frank Sinatra, there was 2 locations we went to during Frank Sinatra. One was to Thunderbird Lodge, and one was to, also the Al Capone. We went to Alcatraz. We went back to those locations. We did like a 1-hour special where we went back to Alcatraz and back to Thunderbird Lodge, and the entire episode dealt with just that location. And I tell you what, it's always great going back a second time because you prepare yourself a little bit better from what happened the first time there, and you know what to look out for. And that's the best part about doing the show, is going to some of the most haunted places in America.
Now, did you also do a Betty Davis show?
Yes, we did. We did Betty Davis, and we ended up going to Salem.
Wow.
All the witches.
Well, now, I heard, it was amazing, I wish we would have had time to get this, but I heard that you got one of the Betty Davis EVPs, and listening to the voice, there's absolutely no doubt that it's Betty Davis's voice.
Well, the thing is, we tried to figure out, is this Betty Davis's voice or not? One of the EVPs I got was, we're in this called Dungeon Rock, and we're down there, and I'm like, I felt there's a presence here, but I don't think it's Betty Davis. It's not Betty Davis. And we get this EVP that says, "I'm sorry," and it's just clear as day. It's just amazing. Even my co-host was like, "Okay, I hear it," And is it Betty Davis? I don't think it's Betty Davis.
Now, did you hear it with the with your ears, or did you hear this on the EVP recording later?
I heard it on the EVP recording because I'm always recording audio. I mean, I'll walk away for like 10 hours from just one show, and I'll listen to it, and it was clear as day. It responded right after I said it. It said, "I'm sorry," and it was just me and the cameraman that was down there at the bottom of the dungeon.
Now, these locations that you go to, are they purported to be haunted by these spirits, or they're just tied to the spirits in, I think, like didn't you visit Cal Neva for Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, that was great.
So you visited places that were very important to these guys and ladies. Are they known to be haunted by these spirits?
Well, that's a good question, and that's basically the formula of the show, is we deal with the celebrity, and we go to locations that either that celebrity's been to or frequented, a place either they grew up or they owned or they were well known for being making their appearances at, as long as that place has some type of paranormal activity that has been recorded. For example, we went to Alcatraz. What a great place to go. There's a lot of great ghost stories there, because we were doing an episode on Al Capone, and Al Capone had stayed there a period of time at Alcatraz. Thunderbird Lodge, also, Frank Sinatra was nearby the place he owned at Cal Neva, which we also went to. He owned the Cal Neva.
Right.
It's believed that Frank went to Thunderbird Lodge and played some card games. So, perfect. It's a place he's been at. So in our journey, we try to find, is there spirit there? Most of the time, we go to those locations, no, their spirit's not there, but we come across other entities or spirits that are, and that's the best part about the show, because you never know what you're going to get.
Now, do you believe that when you do find the spirits, do you believe that it's a spirit haunting, or do you think you're just catching a residual?
Well, it could be both, and then there's 2 things that I've learned as I've been doing the show that's helped me a lot in my evolution spiritually, is I've learned the difference between the energy of when a ghost is there, residual energy, if they were just in the room or if they've left, and what's called now place memory. Place memory is very important, very key. And Pamela Heath, a parapsychologist I worked with during Alcatraz, helped me term this because it's something she's been working on for years. And there was so much place memory in Alcatraz. Okay, when you consider all the inmates that have been in there, the personnel, the traumatic experiences, the deaths, everything, that energy that is released from the human body, from the psyche, is recorded in inanimate objects, the floor, the walls, the bars, everything. The best part about going into these locations that we go to on any of our journeys, as long as that location has the original floors, the original walls, it is like icing on the cake for me, because I can walk in there and pick up any energy that has been recorded there, which is called place memory. So if somebody died there, I can feel how they died. I can have these emotions and thoughts and patterns of what they felt like they were going through before death, during the death, and right after the death. It becomes sometimes very traumatic for me, but it's amazing that some of the details that can come through, some details that are known and some details that weren't known. So it can be very helpful in any type of investigation.
Well, Chris was nice enough before the show as well to send us a couple of EVPs that he's collected. And since we're talking about Alcatraz, I found one that I thought was pretty amazing. Okay. So why don't we, Tim, go ahead and play that one off real quick, and then maybe you can tell us a little bit about the EVP and how you got it. Can you play that one again, Tim? Now it's saying, "I'll face you."
Oh, I get chills when you play that.
Yeah, that's a creepy one. And hopefully the people, I apologize again if you're having trouble hearing it over the internet because of the hybrid. You'll be able to hear it on the recorded version a lot more clearly. But the voice is pretty clearly saying, "I'll face you." Now, what was the question, or what led you to get that response?
Well, this is a wonderful story because we went into Cell Block D, which is known as to be the most active and haunted location in Alcatraz. Cell Block 12, 13, 14. And actually, this episode just aired this past Tuesday. It was on Biography Channel, so it's perfect timing to explain this. They said, "We're putting you in this cell." I said, "Yeah, right." And there's a story of, while the place was open and inmates were there, they had stuck an inmate in there, and he was screaming, saying there was someone else in there with him. And he said that there was someone in there with red eyes. He says, "Please let me out of there." They was like, yeah, right, whatever. The next day, they found the guy completely choked to death, strangled. And so it's pretty scary. Now, other parapsychologists have gone in and they felt a very evil, dark presence in there. Well, they decided, "We're going to stick you in there for an hour or two, Chris." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, but I'm like, "Come
Chris,
on."
let me give you my name in case I need a new host for your show.
Oh, and I'm like, "You got it." I said, "All right, fine. I'll do it." And then Gail's like, "What are you, chicken? Come on." I'm like, "All right, whatever. I'll go in there." So I go in there, and I put the tape on. Now, they lock the door, and it's pitch dark in there. I mean, pitch dark. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. The only thing I can see is illumination from the camera. They give me the camera, and I'm filming myself. Now, while I was in there, I set the tape player down, and that was when the first season when I was still using cassette, and I eventually switched to digital, but I had it sitting down, and nothing's happening. I'm sitting there going, "Come on." I'm like, "You mean to tell me that this place is supposed to be scary, that there are ghosts in here?" I go, "Come on, I've seen ghosts when I was a kid. I had all these experiences. I'm not, somebody's supposed to be tough in here. You guys were prisoners. I'm not afraid of you. Come on, show yourself."
Now, are you saying this out loud?
I'm saying this out loud.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And as I'm recording myself, filming myself, I start feeling it's getting a little chillier in the room, and I start to feel something. I'm like, "Show yourself." I go, "You're supposed to be real tough guys, whatever, or any ghost going to come forward." All of a sudden, upon playback, weeks later, while I'm analyzing the audio, this voice says, "I'll face you." Now, I'm listening to this at 3:30. Right there. I'm listening to it at 3:34 in the morning, going through all the audio. I jump out of my seat at home. I'm like, "Oh, my God." Because I didn't really even feel that presence at the time, yet it was there clear as day on the audio.
Yeah, it is. It's we get a lot of EVPs sent to us, and sometimes they're just not very clear. That's pretty clean. And again, I apologize if you can't hear it very well over the phone hybrid. We'll play it one more time for you, Tim. Go ahead. Yeah, that's just a creepy voice, man.
Well, if you listen to the voice, it's funny because the director called me and said, "Hey, I got this, the email you sent me." He goes, "Chris, did you make this?" I said, "What do you mean make this?" He goes, "Is this fake?" I said, "No, it's real. I got the original tape. You want to analyze it?" He's like, No, I believe it." He goes, "But this is unbelievable." I said, "I know." Upon analyzing it and listening to it over and over, the images I get, being a sensitive and everything, getting, clairaudience, clear video, whatever, seeing images in my head, I see an older man, probably in his late 40s, maybe even 50s, kind of weathered a little bit, very tough, tattoos, that just tough as nails. And if you listen to what he's saying, "I'll face you," isn't that like a term they used to use in the 40s, maybe the 30s or 50s, when they would fight on the docks and stuff, or like, who's going to stand up to this guy? "I'll face you."
Yeah, I thought very Western cowboy feel to that one.
Yeah, it's like, in the early 1900s, it's something that they would say when they would, today if somebody's going to fight, they're going to say, "I'll face you." It's just like they just go in there and kick some butt.
Yeah.
So when I listened to it, I said, "Whoa, this is pretty intense." So now it's nice when you do these investigations. It's like, it's like striking gold when you listen to the audio and you spend all these hours and you're getting nothing, and then all of a sudden something like this pops up. It sends chills down your spine.
Chris, I got a question for you.
Sure, Tim.
I watched that episode you were talking about with Alcatraz. I believe it was when you were in the shower room. You had a very...
Hey, wait a minute. This is a family show.
Well, you had a very violent reaction to what looks like, somebody who might have been stabbed, but they didn't really elaborate on it. They kind of let you judge it for yourself, at least in my opinion. Can you elaborate a little bit as to what you were feeling as you were kind of hit the deck? You were grabbing what looked like your ribs, and you were shuddering, and you were kind of crawling along the floor.
Well, here's the thing. There is so much that occurred at Alcatraz. The first time I went there, I was so open to it. We had something going on that was going on off camera, and so it was like I really focused on what was going on to try to deter away from what was going on, the drama, so to speak. And I was picking up everything. I was too open. And what was happening was I was becoming a part of that memory. I was becoming a part of whatever that action or trauma was. I was the person getting beat up. I was the person that was mad, wanting to break out of the cell. I was the person that was beating somebody up, someone that was in the corner playing with their ears, because that place wasn't a prison. It was basically a psychotic ward. You know, people were messed up mentally. And I was picking up on those things. Now, talking about the person like being stabbed and this type of stuff was, you know, of course there was people that were stabbed there and everything, and I was picking up certain locations where that did occur. I would feel someone as if they were striking me, beating me up, and, you know, in the showers there was unpleasant feeling. I said, nope, don't want to go there, and I walked out of there. But
you're not the first man to not want to go to a prison shower room, Chris.
I go, well, why did I step in there? You know. But the one thing that's interesting is, you know, you watch the show and you're like, they go from one edit to the next edit to the next edit, and the director told me, Chris, there was so much stuff that happened to you, we couldn't put it all in, so we put little snippets. There's a story almost to every single thing that happens to me, and I think the one that really touches the heart is I was standing in one location, I'm like, wow, this is completely different energy. This is kind of warm, it's kind of loving, it's exciting, it's like I'm waiting for something, there's a lot of happiness here. It's the best place in the whole location we've been at Alcatraz. And all of a sudden, I then shifted. And I shifted into this motion of sadness. Now, that was the mailroom where prisoners would wait to get their mail. And of course, you know, that's the only contact they have with the outside world. There was one spirit that I then picked up on, and it was a spirit that was still there. And this spirit was basically stuck there because he believed he couldn't be forgiven. He had murdered some woman. And the sad thing that they didn't show on the show was he really wasn't upset about murdering the woman. What he was upset about, right after he murdered the woman, a girl had come into the room, the daughter, about maybe 6, 7 years old, and witnessed, you know, her mother laying there. And the criminal panicked and basically did an injustice, you know, basically killed the little girl. Oh. And I felt that. I saw that in my eyes, and I lost it. I mean, right now I'm even getting emotional. I'm shaking because to see and witness something like that as the sensitive it's horrible. I mean, it's really horrible because I would not want anybody to go through something like that. But then I felt the torment and the pain that this criminal had felt, that he realized what he did and how sad he was about it, and how he wanted forgiveness so bad. He didn't want to do that, and he had been holding that regret, and he was trapped there. The interesting thing is, right after I am talking this and letting the spirit talk through me and feeling his emotions, I get an EVP, which they didn't play in the show, of a little girl that sings, "I have something to tell you." And it is just bone-chilling. And what I believe, it was that girl's spirit coming forward and saying, "I forgive you for what you did." And that was just so impactful to me when I heard that. And the funny thing is I felt that the spirit needed to move on, and Pam and I helped the spirit move on, and I really hope that he did cross over. So there's things that you don't see in the show that are very spiritual, very touching. The show is not done for entertainment. These things that go on really do happen. And unfortunately, it's only a 43, 48-minute show, and a lot of it gets thrown onto the cutting room floor.
Now, see, Chris, with that, the way that particular segment was edited, you thought that the criminal was remorseful for murdering the woman, and that was the end of the story.
Right. He was upset about killing the child.
Well, let's talk more about some of the other things that might have been cut out during the first couple seasons of the show that maybe you got missed out on. We're going to cut away to a quick commercial here. You're tuning into the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. This is Dave Schrader. Our guest this evening is Chris Fleming. Chris is one of the stars of Dead Famous Ghostly Encounters. He can be found on the Biography channel. We'll be back right after this.
The New York Times has raved about the show. The Star Tribune says it's paranormally funny. And the Biscayne Bugle said, how could they put this crap on the air and live with themselves?
I am so so sorry for everything that has happened. Because in spite of what Mike says now, it is my fault. Because it was my project. Everything had to be my way. And this is where we've ended up.
Stay tuned. There's more to come from the darkness on the edge of town.
This is Dave Schrader from the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. Each week, we delve into the web of the unknown and deal with a lot of scary subjects. But nothing makes my blood run colder or scares me more than dealing with technology. That's why we turn to the experts when we wanted our website for the show set up and maintained. In the studio with me is Don Raleigh, owner of Evolve Systems. Don and his exceptional staff were easy to work with and made setting up our site a breeze. Don, what is it that sets you apart from other web developers?
Well, Dave, we make your business visions come to life by creating, maintaining, and hosting all of your internet needs. We do this by listening to our clients. We offer programs and price plans to fit any budget. And Dave, I mean any budget. Call us at 651-628-4000 and put us to work for you.
Call Don at Evolve Systems, 651-628-4000. I did, and I couldn't be happier with the results.
That's because we take the ugh out of technology, Dave. Call us today at 651-628-4000 or visit us on the web at www.evolve-systems.com, serving the entire United States. That's Evolve Systems, helping you to manage change. Cheers.
If you read Taps Paramag every month, you'll be able to tell the difference between the absurd
Could not go to work because Bigfoot stole my car.
and the creepy. Taps Paramag takes you where few would ever go on purpose. From exclusive interviews with the cast of The Ghost Hunters to the latest trends in technology in the field of the paranormal. To join our journey, order at tapsparamag.com.
The smell of voodoo hangs in the air. Either that or Dave and Tim had the 7-bean salad for dinner.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 45 minutes. Somebody open the window.
Welcome back to the darkness, or whatever is hanging in the air, on the edge of town.
Good evening and welcome back to the Darkness on the Edge of Town. Our guest this evening is Chris Fleming. Chris is one of the co-hosts and stars of the Discovery Channel, Biography Channel. Sorry about that, Chris. Biography Channel's show Dead Famous Ghostly Encounters, which is going into its 3rd season starting this week. On the 4th, it's going to be a brand new episode with Bing Crosby. Then on the 11th, you've got Rita Hayworth. On the 18th, Nat King Cole. And on the 25th, Andy Warhol. If you have any questions for Chris and you'd like to call in, you can reach us at 612-375, sorry, Tim, I'm not good at this whole phone number thing, 612-375-1400. Again, that's 612-375-1400. Or you can email me at dave@darknessradio. Tim's checking the email periodically, so if there's questions that you have for Chris and you're too chicken to call in and talk on the air, you can go ahead and email those questions in. Now, before we went to the break, we were talking about the things that get left out of the show. I know that having talked to hosts of other shows, sometimes they're really disappointed by the cool stuff they felt should have gone in.
Yeah.
Do you have those same kind of situations with your show?
Oh, big time. See, the thing is, a lot of people just see me doing my psychic, sensitive stuff on there, and they don't understand my background, which I like to touch on briefly, because that would explain why I get a little upset that some things aren't in there, is I've had experiences ever since I was a kid, and a lot of these experiences, which I can say happily were collective, meaning that there was other people with me, whether it was my mom that experienced something, even friends that would sleep over and would see an apparition and a ghost too. So I've got these things to go back on and saying, you remember this when we were 5 years old? Yes, I do, that type of stuff, so I wasn't crazy. But growing up, things would happen all the time. Dreams would come true, ESP, precognition. Stuff would just always escalate as I would get older into the dream realm. But when this show came along, I had kind of been out of the field for a few years. I published a magazine for about 4 years called Unknown Magazine, where I did research and interviewed people all over the world that had all different types of paranormal experiences, UFOs, Bigfoot, you name it. I was always interested in that stuff growing up, watching In Search, everything. It was an opportunity for me to share my experiences to the world through the magazine, but also to research and learn about other people's experiences and see if I could relate to any of them. I stopped doing the magazine. This company found me on the internet doing some ghost investigations that I used to do in the 90s with local groups in Chicago, going to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, which you may be familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
And I hadn't done some of that stuff in a while. And they said, do you want to do this show? I said, great. And they said, okay, we see you're an investigator and everything. What do you do? I said, well, the big thing is EVPs. I love EVPs. The first EVP I ever got was on a reel-to-reel when I was 7 years old. That was basically 31 years ago. I'm 38 now. That's a long time ago. And the first EVP I got basically said, touches me, when I was doing the Ouija board by myself, which wasn't too smart. Having that background, dealing with EVPs, dealing with ghosts, doing the show, it was kind of uncomfortable for me at first, the first season, because not that I didn't know what to do. Here I was doing it in front of a camera. I'm doing it in front of broad daylight. I'm doing it in front of all these people. I'm used to doing it at home. I'm used to doing it in a cemetery with a couple people. That's it. So at times I felt like I was put on the spot, and I'm like, well, nothing happened. You see a lot in the first season. As things started going on, I became more comfortable with what was happening, and I was more sensitive to I was just letting myself relax. And you see that from the first, second, and third season to where I'm comfortable with what I'm doing, because there's no doubt to me. What happened to me as a child and what's happening now, for me, is exciting, because I can look back on my childhood and say, you know what, I don't have to be afraid anymore. This stuff I can deal with. Dealing with the technology and commingling the two, the sensitive abilities and the technology, dealing with cameras, infrared, EMF detectors, K2 meters, was kind of new for me in the first and second season, so I was learning how to use them and show them on camera. But EVPs and photographs I was pretty familiar with. You see that in the third season, where I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing, and as a show, we've completely grown. But the one thing I'm excited about is I've learned so much dealing with anomalies that you see on video and you see on camera. Now, the big debate, Tim and Dave, you're probably familiar with, is the thing of orbs. Some people hate them, some people love them. I'll be the first person to stand up. You know what? I messed up the first season. I got a couple, things on my camera in second season saying, oh, look, there's a ghost. It's a spirit. It's an orb, right? Why? Because I was listening to the other ghost hunters that were out there that were saying, well, these are ghosts. As we got to go to more locations, I was taking thousands and thousands of pictures. I'm like, wait a minute, this is coming up too often.
Right.
And I don't even feel anything here, And the more I identify, I realize this is dust. It's dust, it's other type of artifacts. And I said, oh boy, here I am on camera saying this is a ghost, first, second season, but you know what? You live and learn. As we got on, I was able to identify and come up with other theories of why these things appear on there and why they don't. And it's funny because we'd film sometimes, and I'd show the cameraman. I said, do you see it? He goes, yeah, that's dust floating around. I said, no, it's not. That's dust, but what's that? And we would see something go through the wall, in the infrared, something that would come out of the wall, would completely do a 90-degree turn and go the other way and speed off. And you'd see this in infrared, and they're like, oh, my God, what is that? I said, well, I don't know. It's something that has a consciousness. It can change direction. It can react to our voices. Dust can't do that. So what is it? Is it a ghost? Is it some type of entity? Is it some type of, species? An insect that we can't see with our eyes? We don't know. But it's very intriguing. But there are some anomalies that we've gotten on video and on camera that, without a doubt, to me, it is definitely a ghost or a spirit. Because I would feel it, I would sense it, then we would get confirmation. I would call out to it. We've been in some theaters doing Bing Crosby and Rita Hayworth. Hopefully they show this footage. I called out. I said, if there's any spirits here, please make yourself known. I'm standing right in the middle of the camera, about 30 feet away, and you see this, it's like an arrow-shaped orb. It's really weird. Comes flying towards me, goes flying towards the camera, disappears, and then goes flying back off in like a triangle pattern. No way is that a dust. But it is the coolest thing when you use technology, and I think the ghost hunters and other people out there that do this research on TV and off TV will even say, is when you catch something that you feel something's there, you sense it, and then you identify it with EVP or with video camera.
Right, you're able to validate the psychic's feeling.
It's awesome.
Oh, that's got to be. Now, people that are interested can go check out your website as well at unknownmagazine.com. And you have information and back issues available there for your magazines as well. Is that correct?
Right.
You also have some of your EVPs up, other things like that. Okay, that's great. We do have a couple of callers on the line. Do you mind taking a couple questions here?
Oh, not at all.
All right. Steve, we've got Steve on line 1 here with us. And please speak up so that we can make sure that Chris can hear you. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dave and Chris. This is Steve Comp here. How you guys doing?
Hey, Steve, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Hey, Chris. We worked together on the Billy the Kid episode.
Right.
And I'm still amazed at when we were doing our investigation. We were upstairs, and I believe that was Pat Garrett's office where we heard the woman's voice.
Mm-hmm.
What was interesting is that it was actually in the atmosphere that we heard this woman's voice. There was no women in the room with us.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, do you have a recording going on that or any other video information as to what that could have been?
Well, the sad thing is I didn't set up any video cameras at that point, which I wish I did, because there was a lot of activity up there. And for those that don't know, what's the place that we were at? Was it Lincoln County
Yeah,
Jail?
Lincoln County Courthouse in Lincoln, New Mexico, where Billy the Kid escaped and shot 2 deputies.
And the thing that Steve was excited about and I was excited about was no one had ever investigated that place before.
That's correct.
And I was up there by myself at one point while Steve was downstairs doing his interview with Gail Porter for the show. And I was up there by myself, and I was letting the tape roll. And upon playback a week later doing the analysis, there was ghosts talking in the room. And they'd say, somebody's here. That's impossible, that type of stuff. And it was amazing because there was more than one. There was more than two. There was a bunch of them that were there having forms of communication. And it was amazing to me because, we didn't know if there's any ghosts in that place, if there's any hauntings or not. So Steve, the answer to your question, yes, I do have some great EVPs, and I had given some to the director. And one of them is a shotgun. I've caught a couple shotguns, gunshots, so to speak, that went off that, beyond a shadow of a doubt, when you listen to it, it sounds exactly like a gunshot.
Well,
so
you know what?
Cool.
We happen to have a couple of EVPs from that show. So let me, I think we've got, it's Lincoln County Courthouse number 13.
Oh, that's right.
It is one of the ones. So Tim, why don't you go ahead and play that one, and then maybe Chris and Steve can fill us in on what we're hearing. Play it again for us. Now, for those of you listening, and I know that you don't like when I give you what they're saying, but I'm going to repeat what they said, and then we'll listen to it one more time. And it says, help Billy, help. Is that correct?
I can't really remember because I don't have it all in front of me, but there was one that I said, help Billy. I got an EVP, and there was one EVP that said, help me. And I don't remember if that EVP right there is the one with the gunshot.
Oh, is this the one with the help me? Go ahead and try it again, Tim. Yep, that's the help me.
Yeah, help me. And you hear a click in there, which is, people are very familiar with the knocks and the clicks in EVPs.
Right.
Which, there's many different theories on it. My theory is that it's some type of switch or something that they're putting on, or some type of energy channel where the sound barrier breaks, and that repercussion, that vibration that's sent out, is able to carry their voice to us. Like a wavelength.
Sure.
To where we can then hear it. That sound, that knock, whatever it is, they then can carry their wave on that vibration so that we can pick it up.
Now, Chris, didn't you also record a gunshot, and we were trying to collaborate or corroborate whether it was possibly from Billy's gun when he shot Deputy Bell?
Yeah, Steve, it was right by the stairs where Billy the Kid had shot the deputy. While I was picking up place memory and everything, and I had the recorder running, we had a voice that said, help Billy, and then there was a gunshot. There was like 2 or 3 shots, I think it was. And, of course, we didn't hear that when we were there, but I couldn't believe it when I was playing the digital audio back, and I was like, that's a gunshot.
Yeah.
That is a gunshot. And when I sent it to the director, he was so excited. He's like, you got to be kidding me. He goes, that's amazing. And even Living TV, who owns the show, was amazed. So it was very cool.
Now, I think we might even have that one. Let me see if we can clue it up. It says, help Billy, I think is the one. Tim, okay. Do you see it? We're checking on this. And for those of you tuning in, on the line with us, we have Chris Fleming, the host and star of the TV show Dead Famous Ghostly Encounters. And on the line with us also is Steve Compier, who will be in a future episode where they were investigating Billy the Kid. Steve is also the founder of My Paraspace, which is a fantastic place for you to go if you have an interest in the paranormal and you'd like to join a community. You can go there, talk to other paranormal fans all over the world. Congregate there and talk back and forth and have great little chats and can share information. We've got the EVP queued up.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you hit it one more time, Tim? And what you're hearing is the gunshot and then help, Billy, help.
Yeah.
And it sounds, again, it's hard to hear over here. When you get it, if you've got earphones and you can plug it into your computer while you're listening, or to your stereo, plug them in now. We'll play that again in a few seconds after they talk to us a little bit more about that EVP. All right, so go on with that.
Yeah, and like Steve, I mean, I'm talking to Steve when we were there. Once I had listened to this audio and everything, which was, we were already past the location, we were gone, I would have loved to have gone back there again and set up more equipment, because I don't know if I was having an off night or whatever, but I didn't feel that there was that many entities there. And, when I came back and listened to the audio, I'm like, oh my gosh, this place was very active. It would have been phenomenal to go back there with video cameras, see if we get any strange anomalies.
Now, you said something interesting, Chris, and Steve, I'd like your opinion on this too. I know you do a lot of paranormal investigations.
Right.
But you had mentioned that you could hear voices where they were like, they're here, but that's impossible. I've often wondered, and I know we've discussed it in the show in the past, if we're not really seeing ghosts, if it's more of just a really thin layer of time-space, and we're actually seeing them in their own time doing what they were doing, and it just appears to be a ghost to us. Because there have been times when ghosts look at you like, holy crap, what's that? And they take off running. And I wonder if it's because they're seeing you and thinking you're a ghost. Does that make sense at all to either one of you doing this type of investigation?
Yeah. Having gone through all the audio, I was able to come up with a conclusion to actually answer that. When I was sitting on the bench upstairs on the second floor, where the jailhouse was, where Billy was locked up, and I was sitting there, and those voices appeared on the audio, I believe at that point they were not used to having somebody there at nighttime. Nobody was ever in there, because we'd asked the woman, she goes, no, we always lock up and we're out of here. Nobody's ever in here at nighttime. So the ghosts come out, because there's no tourists in there going through the museum. The ghosts were out, and they're like, wait a minute, somebody's here. It's impossible. Nobody's ever here. So we were the first persons that had ever been let in there at that time period. So the ghosts had come out, and we're like, wait a minute, people are still in here. And that's the communication, the conversation that I captured on tape. Now, to go backwards a little bit, what you were saying about time zones and that type of stuff, what's interesting is when I was standing near the stairs, and I was walking up and down trying to pick up more place memory of what exactly happened to the deputy, what was going through Billy's mind, when he shot the gun and that type of stuff, there was an EVP. It wasn't very clear. It was like a B- grade, and it says, get out of our time. And that was so interesting to me, because, well, what the heck did that mean? It was because I was trying to go into their time period, picking up the place memory, that there was an entity or spirit still trapped in that time, or believing it's that time, like, hey, get out of here, leave us alone. You're from your time period, this is our time. I can't answer that. That to me, that's another mystery.
Wow. Now, do you know when this episode with Billy the Kid is going to air?
Well, we've got 10 episodes for the third season, so most likely it's going to air May or June.
May or June. All right, great. Steve, did you have any other questions?
Oh, no, that was basically it. I appreciate taking my call, Dave. Great talking to you and Chris.
Hey, it's always great talking to you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on with us, Steve.
Okay, buddy. Thanks.
We've got another caller on the line here. We've got Chris on... Oh, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Chris. I'm sorry.
You're talking.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, she wrote down both names at the same time. I'm just not thinking.
It's my split personality, right?
I do have a question from Robin Bailey from our boards. She goes by the name I Live to Write. She wants to know, who is a dead celebrity that you would not want to investigate, and
Hitler.
why? Hitler.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really call him a celebrity.
No, but he's
for 1 week only at the Chashmachar. He's going to be performing live.
Yeah, there's certain individuals I don't want to absorb any of that energy.
Oh, sure. So you guys like Hitler. I mean, how about like regular, James Cagney, Frank
Well, there were
Sinatra
some celebrities we did I really didn't want to, because I knew nothing about them. Or, I'm like, well, here's the interesting thing. Janis Joplin, we do an episode on Janis. I'm like, Janis Joplin, I never liked her music. I don't even know who she is, whatever. Like, I love doing Andrew Warhol, Howard Hughes. Those were interesting to me, Al Capone, Alfred Hitchcock. Wow, exciting, cool characters. But Janis, I was like, all right, whatever. But I tell you what a great investigation. I tell you, some of the places we went to, the EVPs I got were exciting. And then what happened to me, they put me into a regression, and they brought me to when I was a child, and then they brought me in between lives, kind of like Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. And they took me to the other side, to the spirit realm, to try to contact her. And I tell you, it was the coolest thing, one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. And I didn't want to leave. I said, I want to stay here. Don't bring me back. Because it was beautiful. It was literally beautiful. Unfortunately, they brought me back, and I got emotional because I didn't want to go, but that's another story.
Well, we're glad to have you back with us.
Oh, thanks.
I appreciate you being there. Are they going to release these seasons on DVD?
I don't know. They did the first season in England,
okay.
But hopefully one day they will.
Well, who do we need to write to get them on DVD? Biography Channel? Let them know?
Well, Biography Channel doesn't own the rights to them. They bought them from Minotaur. You would have to contact 24 Productions and Living TV in Europe. They're the ones that own it.
Yeah, because I would think that with that extra footage, that'd be fantastic extra footage for the DVDs.
I would love to have all this extra footage on there. We have gotten some amazing stuff that unfortunately is on the cutting room floor.
Now, who would you say was your favorite celebrity that you've done so far, or who? And aside from that, who would you really like to do that you haven't done yet?
I'd like to do Bruce Lee because I'd like to know anything about that the legend and myth about both him and Brandon dying, the curse, so to speak. What really happened. I would like to do that. But as of the people we've done, that's interesting because there's a lot of interesting characters and people that. There's a bits and pieces I took with me that I'll never forget. But Howard Hughes was interesting.
You mentioned Howard Hughes.
That was, I was privileged to actually watch the episode, Howard Hughes, because they'd aired it out of order a couple weeks ago. And what a great episode, because the director really captured the things that happened, and you get to see what we went through. And it's a remarkable episode because not only does it stay true to Howard Hughes and who he was and really documentary style about this man, you learn so much about him, but we go to his offices. We go to, the places that he owned and he lived in. And because of that, his energy was there so strong that we came in contact with people. Got to watch the show.
Okay. Do you feel that you make contact with the spirits that you're always investigating?
No, you don't. And it's funny, you do and you don't. Okay, and let me answer this in a way. I believe from doing this show, because I'm like, I even question myself, like, how is this possible? How did I actually get a hold of this person? And like Mae West, we'd gotten a hold of her during the Marilyn Monroe seance, which was the first episode we did. She came through. But when we did Mae West episode, she didn't come through. But yet I had a spirit that was saying it was Mae West, and it wasn't Mae West. And I questioned it, and I told people at the table, start answering questions that there's no way I would ever know. And the spirit could not answer. I said, this is not Mae West. So you don't always get the celebrity you're searching for. Some you get nothing. No place memory, no spirit contact, zip.
Why do you think she showed up at Maryland? Because she was so notoriously jealous of anybody else getting the attention, or what?
Well, I think it was the first seance I had done in a long time. It was the first one I'd done for the show, and I think I was so open to it. We were also asking any other spirits to come through that I think they all had the same message that Marilyn had, that they were all supporting each other. And it was just a smorgasbord of different actors and actresses, and it was amazing. Unfortunately, of course, all you get to see really is Marilyn Monroe coming through because it's her episode.
Right.
But, Andy Warhol was exciting to me because I was always into art, and he was one of my favorite artists. But I got to see something. I was shown something that, was beyond anything I could have comprehended before. So to me, that was exciting because it helped me grow spiritually. I hope that they keep that in the show, and I'm pretty sure they're going to, that when people get to see it, it's amazing. It's amazing what goes on the other side.
How about The King? What'd you do with Elvis? Do you feel
The King, that was, to me, that's unfinished business. And I'll tell you why. We had some great things happen. I picked up some, incredible place memory on him. But, at the end, they're like, Chris, do you believe it's Elvis that's in there? Do you believe? I'm like, I couldn't answer. And I'm like, yes, no. I'm like, I don't know. Because I didn't feel his presence. But I felt that there is a spirit that's in Graceland. I definitely believe it's male because we did a tour. We weren't allowed to film in there. We did a tour, and I was on the first floor, and I felt this male presence come next to me. Was it Elvis? I don't know. I can't answer that.
Could have been Daddy.
It could have been anybody.
It wasn't his dad, Vernon, living there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
I
it
think
was
we should
the
do
Colonel.
A sequel to that.
Yeah, it could have been the Colonel. He's still wanting his cut of the of the pie there. So with Elvis, you really didn't feel anything. Well, could that be because he's really running a convenience store in Iowa, like they say?
I think he's passed away. I don't think he's still here. Do I know for sure? No. I could be wrong, but I did not feel his spirit. Like Jim Morrison, I felt his spirit. And I do believe definitely he's on the other side. Lucille Ball, interesting thing. You say stuff, do we always come in contact? In the episode of Lucille Ball, the psychic, I believe she says she comes in contact with Lucille Ball. She starts talking about her. I'm on the other side of the table. I'm feeling the presence of Lucille Ball. I channeled Desi Arnaz. And Lucille was there, and she was smiling, she was laughing, but then she had this sadness, and I saw images of her life and everything, and none of that made it to the show. And I said to the director, I said, why didn't you put that in? She goes, well, because you can't get the celebrity all the time. I said, well, I don't. I'm like, that's the point of the show. You know, and I'm just like, oh, that was the first season, though. You know, it's like people just didn't understand, you know, what I do and how I do it. But, you know, that's the thing, and you really can't get too mad about it because you have no control. I mean, I'm so lucky to be going to some of the most haunted places in America. I mean, this is a ghost hunter's dream. You know, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Alcatraz, Calneva, Whaley House, to go to some of those haunted places in America, you know, get paid for it, but actually to do the thing I've always done is, you know, coming in contact with these ghosts, trying to get EVPs, doing the research. It's wonderful. It really is.
Well, that's great. And for people that are just tuning in, the guest tonight on Darkness on the Edge of Town is Chris Fleming. And Chris is the host and star of Dead Famous Ghostly Encounters, and that's a series that's on the Biography Channel, and that's every Tuesday night. Is that correct?
Yes, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Central Time.
Okay, 9 o'clock Central. And coming up this season, they're going to be kicking off the new season here on the 4th with Bing Crosby, Rita Hayworth on the 11th, Nat King Cole on the 18th, and Andy Warhol on the 25th. I know we got guys like Billy the Kid coming up too later on this year, so keep watching. Chris is kind enough to stick with us here. We're going to go away at the top of the hour here to news. We'll come back and talk to Chris more, and we'll be taking your calls at 612-375-1400. Again, that's 612-375-1400, or you can email your questions to Chris at dave@darknessradio.com. You can also check out Chris's website for more information about Chris at unknownmagazine.com. And that's all run together, unknownmagazine.com. You can order up some of the past issues of Unknown Magazine. You can read and hear some more of the EVPs that Chris has on his site. Hear some of his stories. It's a fantastic site, so make sure that you do check it out. You're listening to the Darkness on the Edge of Town radio show. I'm your host, Dave Schrader, along with me, Tim Dennis. Our guest this evening, Chris Fleming.